gatherings where cloaks and lightsabers can be worn, but ritual and clothing requirements are certainly not mandatory. Self-help is fundamental for all Jedaists, and the movement offers applied living techniques to encourage personal growth and development. But at its absolute core, Jediism is about helping others. A Jediist strives to remain in a constant state of calm alertness so that he or she can protect the vulnerable and defenseless at all times. Religion or not? The 2001 Jedi census phenomenon began the debate, which rages on today, about whether Jediism is actually a religion or not. It is possible to argue that Jediism is a religion because it is a spiritual way of living that promotes moral and ethical improvement, which is the definition of religion. But it is also possible to argue that it is not a religion, and more a philosophical or spiritual movement of people who refuse to be defined by government-imposed or traditionally acceptable categories. The only definition that might perhaps apply to a Jediist is guardian or warrior of the light. The decision about whether or not Jediism is a religion is one that you must ultimately make for yourself after you listen to this book. In many ways, though, that decision is perhaps irrelevant, as it is first and foremost a philosophical, spiritual movement. It is whatever you feel comfortable with and what empowers you to find meaning in your life and live to your full potential. The word church does carry with it religious connotations, but the word church has now gone beyond its original Christian associations and is now often used to describe a community of people who share similar beliefs. There does not have to be a religious connection. In other words, it is actually immaterial whether Jediism is a religion or not. All that matters is the bigger spiritual picture and whether Jediism helps you find your purpose. If it can help you live a happier and more rewarding life, then it has fulfilled its meaning and purpose through you and the light that your happiness and fulfillment can bring to the world. How this book came to be. Jediism first caught and held my attention in the spring of 2014. Since leaving King's College, Cambridge University, with a master's in English and theology, I've spent close to 2 decades writing best-selling and Sunday Times top 10 spiritual books. At the time, I was busy compiling an A to Z of as many world religions as word count would allow for a book I was writing called How to Find Heaven. The idea was to show listeners that there is a very real difference between religion and spirituality, and that you can be spiritual but not necessarily religious. I also wanted to introduce listeners to other religions, even obscure ones they might never have heard of before, in the hope they would notice that there was a profound beauty in them all, and that, in essence, they all sought or said the same thing, but simply expressed their light in different ways. I even included atheism and humanism in my A to Z, as it could be argued that they make a religion of their ideas. At the end of the A to Z, I asked listeners to name their top 3 religions, and then to think about why these 3 spoke to them more than others. I wasn't being flippant here. I wanted listeners to determine how their choices could reveal a lot about their spiritual needs, and perhaps show them that one movement can't satisfy all your spiritual needs, and there may be elements in others you are drawn to. Along the way, I told them what my top 3 belief picks were and how my choices had surprised even me, especially as the movement I found myself most strongly drawn to was Jediism. Jediism appealed to me because of its emphasis on inner calm, altruism, positive
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.